Happy 420, everybody, and welcome back to Stoner Drive. I'm your host, Shagwhelin Bullock, and I'm so excited for the show we have today. So I say happy 420 every time, but it's not always 420 when I shoot. So to tell you the origin of that story, it actually started in 1971. There's 5 high school students in California, in St. Raphael, California. We had Steve Capper, Dave Reddix, Jeffrey Knoll, Larry Schwartz, and Mark Gravage, and they called themselves the Waldos. And these are the original creators of 420. They would simply just say 420 as their code, as, let's meet up after school at 420 at the wall. And that's why they were called the Waldos, is because they would meet out at the wall outside of school and just smoke. And so when I say happy 420, I hope you're sparking with me, or that means we can be sharing together. Also, for you, I had a few years in the cannabis industry, or cannabis culture. I'm going to start saying cannabis culture, because we're going to focus not only on the industry, but also all the aspects around it. The culture, the lifestyle, the wellness, just like cannabis synergy. So, a few years into the cannabis culture, I always looked at 710, and I wondered what that was. So it's really simple. It's just oil flipped upside down. You have 710. The L is a 7, the I is a 1, and the 0 is a O. There you go. Now, also to tell you the origin of Stoner Drive. Some of you might be thinking I'm driving around, smoking up with my guests and everything. That's not true. Right now, it's in just whatever living room or apartment or wherever I'm at the time. But I do eventually want to get my mystery machine, because I am Shaggy, and I will start having interviews and podcasts in the mystery machine. Wherever events I go to, dispensaries I go to, anything involving cannabis, if I'm there, I'm in the mystery machine. We can do interviews, podcasts, all straight from there. But we'll be parked for that time. But Stoner Drive actually started because of my next guest coming on. My guest is Anthony Tagliareni. We've been a part of Therapy Tonics for a year and a half, almost 2 years together. He's been there a lot longer. He's the reason I'm a part of Therapy Tonics, and he has taught me so much. He's a brewmaster for therapy and just the genius behind our drinks. So we had to go up to San Francisco for a trip in Sacramento and NorCal, and we decided to switch shifts. He'd do the first 4 hours at night, I'd do the next 4 in the morning. So we're driving, I'm sleeping, he's driving, he's starting to get hungry. Past a couple of days, he's like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Past a couple more days, he's like, nah. Finally, he sees an IHOP, he's like, all right, let's pull over. So here we go, we're gonna go get some IHOP. As we pull over for the IHOP, we actually miss the first turn once we get off the exit. So it says, make a U-turn at Stoner Drive. And how is that not a sign? In fact, it is a legit sign. So in the new podcast, until I have my mystery machine, you will actually see a picture of me and Anthony standing in front of Stoner Drive. And that is how I got the name of the podcast. So with that origin, also, I would like to shout out Therapy Tonics. They make cannabis-infused coffees, teas, tinctures, and just launched a blackberry lemonade. You can get them in San Diego, LA, Northern California, the desert. In San Diego, you can get at the Reserve in La Mesa. And you can also get it at Harbor Collective and also Weed and Delivery. There's also Therapy Pure Essentials, which is online. That's therapypureessentials.com, where it will order directly to you, and it's legal in all 50 states. That's pure CBD. These are not sponsors of the shows, but they gave me the most education and knowledge and experience I have, so I'm definitely going to give them a shout out. Also, shout out to Cannabis Synergy. We do a show at the last Friday of every month. Cannabis Synergy is about wellness, culture, and lifestyle. It's a show that we have an audience, and you get to experience everything we have to teach you and entertain you about. The last show we had sold out. It was amazing. We had this guy, Jim Bartell, on. he is trying to pass a law, Ryan's bill, and please support it at Ryan's bill or Ryan's Law 2020. This law is really impactful. It allows cannabis into hospitals. That way, for the terminally ill, it's only for people that are going to die, and they just don't want to be on the morphine and the Percocets and all the painkillers that just make them sleep. They want to be themselves. They want to spend time with their families their last couple of days. And so this bill allows them to have cannabis in those hospitals. You cannot smoke it, you cannot vape it, but you can do tinctures, ointments, edibles. This bill actually was in the works a few years ago, and it passed almost unanimously with all the members of the Congress and Senate of California. Unfortunately, when it got to the governor's lap, he vetoed it. He did not sign it, and he said that it was scared that it was not going to allow funding to the hospitals, federal funding, which is BS, because earlier this year or last year, he actually signed a bill allowing cannabis in schools, and schools get their funding from federal. So this is only because of lobbyist money that this bill failed, even though it had bipartisan disagreement on it. And so this year he is attacking it more social media, and that's why I want you again follow on Instagram, on Twitter at Ryan's Law 2020. Unfortunately, he lost his son to cancer, and the guy had a daughter and a wife, and all he wanted to do was have his cannabis so he could spend his last few days with them. And they threatened to take away his insurance, and so that's why Jim Bartel's fighting for this. And just to tell you a little background on myself, the reason I'm in the cannabis industry is because I lost my mom to breast cancer when I was 9 years old. I knew she was medicating during her cancer, but it was nowhere near the medicine we have nowadays. And that was back in Virginia, which we had the shittiest weed. So I fully support. I think if she was alive today, it might not have kept her alive, but it would at least give her that ease that we could have had more time with her and have been more herself instead of on the drugs they had her on and on the chemo. So please support this bill. I know that's a long introduction, but I'm so proud to introduce my next guest, Anthony Tagliareni.
What's up, everybody? Stoked to be here. Feel like it's only right, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Going with you on all these journeys and being there when the name was first, you know, conceptualized. So I'm proud to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and we've talked about it for over a year, starting a podcast, and so
yeah,
it was only right to have you as one of my first guests. So.
Well, you know, I'll be on as much as you'll have me, man. I'm stoked to be here. So
now I do want to sort of back up my guess, or sort of tell the audience they don't know you. So
sure.
Can you just tell them what you do in the cannabis industry and where your knowledge is?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like Shaggy said, my name's Anthony Tagliareni. I live here in San Diego, California. I've been here for about 13 years now. Originally from South Lake Tahoe, California, represent one time. And yeah, I'm just really, really passionate about cannabis and all that it can do, or the progression and the revolution that's taking place. I'm just very proud to be a part of it. I work on the production end most predominantly. I do a lot of infusion. I've been the brewmaster for Therapy Tonics and Provisions for the past 2.5 years or so, and I have been working, you know, on the production end of that line, entry level, starting about 4.5 years ago. So I've learned an incredible amount in that time. You know, I've always been passionate and avid user of cannabis, like probably most of the listeners on this show, but I learned, like, there's just so much more, and every day, you know, it's opened up my eyes and just allowed me to be the best, you know, working version of myself, because there's always so much changing and evolving in the culture and the industry, as you know.
Absolutely. And one thing that really shook my eyes, or just something I guess I wasn't thinking, is how much chemistry and math and everything we use for, I mean, we love cannabis and mixing it together, but to get the potency and everything, can you go a little detail? I mean, obviously not giving away proprietary.
No, sure, yeah. Well, I would first like to say that when it comes to learning this stuff, you could really apply yourself and learn it, you know, on your own for the most part, or with a couple good connections. I actually never went to college for chemistry. I never really got a degree in any of this. I actually dropped out of high school when I was 17, you know, with fairly good grades, but I felt like I was being extorted. But I really just applied myself to the knowledge that I really wanted to learn. And yeah, basically, when it comes to the chemistry and the potency side, THC loves fat, essentially. So if you're looking for a way to infuse, essentially you want to find a base carrier that is incredibly fatty and that is going to be receptive for the THC, but also for your body to process it. Some of those are a lot harder for your body to process. MTC oil is a great one. You can do a lot of really cool stuff with olive oil.
And what is MCT for the people that don't?
MCT is just like 100% pure coconut oil. You can use that for cooking. You can use it in your hair if you want to. It's a really great natural fatty carrier. But that works great for a lot of different types of infusions. And yeah, really anything with a great fat content with the right ratio, and maybe a little bit of emulsification technique, you can get a really, really nice, targetable, controllable emulsion.
Awesome. Now, one thing that I've seen you handle specifically as a brewmaster is dealing with the BCC, or Bureau of Cannabis Control, and the health department. How has that really opened your eyes, or how much in depth have they really gone into in the process?
Is it okay if I hit this bong before I go into this one? I might need it for
of
that
course.
one.
So while he's doing that, just shout out to Boycott Shitty Weed. That is the just apparel of Cannabis Synergy. Shout out to Joanne. That's her line. She just decided to create a few shirts and hats one day that said Boycott Shitty Weed, and people loved it, and it blew up. So check them out on Instagram, also through the Cannabis Synergy Instagram, and get your merchandise now. And support her, which also helps support Cannabis Synergy, which is just our umbrella for everything we create.
Yeah, so back to these regulations, and from my dealings, you know, with them, it's really a really tough cycle. It's really, I don't envy anyone in the BCC's position, but at the same time, there's a lot of ignorance and just disconnect that is taking place, at least from the regulators to the manufacturers' communication lines. I've had multiple times where I've spent hours and hours and hours preparing for these meetings, writing SOPs, providing all the information that they've requested, providing, you know, from the hazard safety control steps down to the very, very specific steps of assembling the product. And when asked about the, you know, the parameters of these questions, they always respond saying that they're not really the authority and they don't have the answers. And that was always a huge frustration for me.
Because aren't they the ones that are supposed to be regulating us?
Yeah, exactly. But the problem, what I think that really stems down to, is that we don't have the statistics or the data that these people are used to working from. And that's as a result of not having, you know, the...
Does that come from it being illegal and not even be able to have the research?
Exactly. And there's a huge debate that I think can go on about that. A lot of people, you know, that are deep into this culture would never want to see it become federally legal for a lot of the reasons. Look how messed up it's already been in certain places. Who, you know, why can't they get this right? Look how much money's coming in. There's so much greed. But at the same time, if I were to want it to be federally legal, I would want it for the reasons being that it would allow for this research to take place.